One, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Bernie Sanders, Chuck Schumer. Who's ready to lead the Democrat Party? Two, Love is Blind, finished. And I have some thoughts about young men, the coming generation, and what they have to deal with when it comes to young women. Three, Barstool's Jack Mack on the autopen, on the Democrat Party, on Jasmine Crockett, and on March Madness. It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, Fox News Facebook page. We're here every Monday through Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time on all those same digital channels, so make sure you subscribe. Drop it in the comments section, become a member of the Willisha. If you're listening on any of the 36 radio stations across this great United States of America, just hit subscribe at Apple or on Spotify. You can then have the Will Cain podcast to listen to on your own schedule, on demand. Happy St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day, never a big holiday for me growing up. I mean, it's a holiday, and you make yourself wear green. And then as you get older, I guess you make your way to the bar. But that really wasn't a big holiday for me, neither growing up in high school nor in college. And even, once I was in law school and in my young single 20s, I just never, I don't know. It didn't hit, I don't think it even hits. It definitely doesn't hit the top 5. I'm not sure it hits in holidays top 10. Now, I think it's different in the Northeast. Do you guys in New York, is this always a big one? Because it's easier in New York to stroll down to the corner, hit an Irish pub, and have fun with your buddies. But I don't know. Is that a big holiday for you, St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah. Huge. It's massive.
Maybe we just have more Irish Catholics up here.
Yeah, in Connecticut, where I'm from, New Haven, it's massive. Yeah. For the entire weekend, maybe 4 days straight.
I was shocked by your description of that, Will.
I mean, you definitely have more Irish Catholics up there than we do across most of America. I mean, I think at some point, whether or not you're Scottish, Irish, German, it just sort of gets lost. It just stops being a signifier. Once you probably go west of the Midwest, west of Ohio, south of Virginia. I just don't think, that century-old ethnic immigration pattern holds. It melts away. Patrick, growing up in Florida, is this a big holiday for you, St. Patrick's Day?
It's definitely in the top 10, but that probably is more just being culturally, the cultural Catholicism of it. So,
well, top 10, we run out of holidays, right? So it's hard not to make the top 10. But look, we can all agree: Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July. Those three. Certainly bigger than St. Patrick's Day. I think there's more cultural pressure on Valentine's Day than there is on St. Patrick's Day. So therefore, it's much more, I'm not telling you should or shouldn't. I'm just telling you is or isn't. I think, culturally, it's a bigger deal, Valentine. So now we're at 4. What New Year's shouldn't, but is a big holiday. New Year's is bigger, more widely celebrated by everyone than St. Patrick's Day. So now we're at 5. Have we run out of holiday? Because
Easter,
MLK, President's Day, Easter definitely above. Easter's above many of those I just named. It's above Valentine's Day and New Year's. So we're now at 6. I don't think any of the government holidays like President's Day, Columbus Day,
Mother's Day, Father's Day,
those don't come in.
Flag Day
above St. Patrick's. I think Mother's Day and Father's Day are a bigger deal. They were growing up for me. You got to remember. I mean, honestly, I can pass by St. Patrick's Day sometimes and forget. Oh, yeah. Today is St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's a miss. So, if you put Mother's Day and Father's Day in there.
If you do it right.
I mean, talking about before, not after.
Oh, yeah.
Blacking out. By the way, just on things that you're not into, they don't mark. My wife just bought new towels, right? And she made a big point to me. These are nice towels, okay?
I know this.
Which is like a passive-aggressive instruction.
Yes.
Don't look. I'm not proud of this, and I feel for all the women out there. But I have to remove makeup almost daily, and it doesn't all wash off like when you're washing your face, or then you dry your face and you're like, oh no, there's makeup on the towel. So I was told, hey, you need to take better care of these towels. But here's the thing, because these aren't our Target towels. And I've felt this way for a good 20 years. I like the Target towels better than the nice towels. Like the whole soft plush towel thing. Is it just me, or do you guys agree? Like they don't dry you off as well.
They don't.
Like I want a rough, at least in the rotation for 5 years towel. Like where I wipe it over my skin once and I'm dry. I don't want one of these that feels real soft, but I have to always wonder how many times do I have to go over myself to get dry?
But then they get a little mildewy and start to have that, wet smell to it longer. And I hate that.
Do you ever use
that's where you got to make sure the wash rotation
Of course
is
I
strong,
wash it.
Dan.
Of course I do that. I'm just saying, if it stays wet longer, then it, starts to have that.
Not a plush towel guy. And I am a fancy soap guy. I've probably told you guys that before. I really enjoy a fancy soap. Bar soap.
I use a thing called
fancy bar soap.
I use a thing called the Man Bar, and that's it.
The Man Bar. Yeah, I got some Squatch. That's some man bar soap. I like that. I don't want the old school stuff we grew up with. Don't come in with Dove. Don't come in with Irish Spring.
No.
Don't come in with the ones that are real, what is it, like soapy and leave you dry and like a film on you. I don't want that.
I just use water.
Like a nice soap. You just use water. Oh, that's very pleasant.
Okay.
Very clean.
Kidding.
Explains the smell of that control room.
Yeah.
The other thing about is this big or is it not? Last week on the Will Cain Show, airing today at 4 p.m. on the Fox News Channel, we were visited by Andrew Schultz. Andrew Schultz, who I think is massive, and a comedian that is absolutely blowing up and breaking through. I am a little surprised sometimes when I've been telling people the last couple of days I had Andrew Schultz, and the response I get is, I can see a little bit of a vacant look in their eyes. And they're like, is he the guy with the mustache? I'm like, how do you not know who Andrew Schultz is? Andrew Schultz, 2 days, you're a big comedy guy. I feel like he's a top 5 guy of the moment, right? Of the moment.
Top 3 right now. Absolutely.
Of the moment. Who else is even in that?
Gillis. Gillis, for sure.
Gillis
is number 1.
Schultz.
Yeah.
It's harder to name the third.
Yeah. Probably. Are you saying there is? Do you know who it is? Or you suggesting Schultz might be in the top 2?
I mean, Burr still sells out.
I would
huge.
say Burr.
Yeah.
Well, Burr's in the moment right now because he's getting destroyed for all his Cracker Jack box issued woke ideology. But yeah, I'd say Gillis and Schultz are huge right now.
Yep.
And Schultz visited us last week, and he came into the studio. And I didn't notice this, but you guys all picked up on it. James came down to meet Andrew Schultz, and it proved to be awkward.
Go. How we doing, guys?
What's up, boss?
How you doing, man?
All right, good to meet you,
Good
James.
to meet you.
What's up? Nice to meet you. I didn't think that was that bad. I didn't even notice it. You guys all
If it
picked
went
up.
back-
James goes in for the fist bump. Schultz goes in for the handshake. But they switched it up quick and arrived at a handshake. Schultz didn't hesitate.
What's up, boss?
How you doing, man?
All right, good to meet you,
Good to
James.
meet you.
Doesn't move it. He keeps it out there strong. He's like, nope.
At least
He sticks with the handshake, which makes it good. You had to adjust.
Stick with one, yeah.
And he's the alpha. He's the higher up in the food chain there. So
He was an awesome dude. He came into the studio. He shook everybody's hand, every producer, every executive, every cameraman, every PR person that was in the studio that wanted to hang out during the interview. He shook everyone's hand. I found him incredibly genuine, incredibly nice. I texted with him afterwards. I was given his number, and I texted with him afterwards. He responded right away. There's just no big time to him at all. It was all real. And we want to share with you a little bit, a clip from that interview. I believe you have one, don't you, 2 days?
Yeah, which one do you want? The Statue of Liberty
conversation.
one? Yeah.
You go ahead. Play what you like from Andrew Schultz.
The first thing you see when you come to America, you see this broad holding a light, you're like, she's got to be exhausted. Why? You know? Who's that? It's Paul Revere. That's what most people think when they come to America. Did you know that?
What?
They thought it was Paul Revere.
The Statue of Liberty?
They thought the Statue of Liberty was Paul. There was one if by sea,
Do it. You can do it.
What is it? One by sea, two. It's one by land, two by sea.
Two by sea.
I mean, it's going to be sea. They're coming from England. Why did they even have a way of demarking if they're coming from land? Did they come
Canada.
through Canada? There's no way they're marching down through Canada.
And Trump has been thinking about it ever since. That's why he wants Canada
we might
back.
need to take it back. How much fun is the idea of taking land again? You know what I mean?
Real fun.
It is kind of fun. Like,
Who doesn't want Greenland?
everybody. No, we shouldn't take land. You know what I mean? Where's my camera?
That was so good.
No, he's a lot of fun. The entire thing's going to air on, the entire thing's going to be broken up. It's going to air today and tomorrow on the Will Cain Show. We'll put the unedited full version here, I think tomorrow on the Will Cain Show. So if you want the full, what ended up being a 40-minute conversation with Andrew Schultz, make sure you're here tomorrow for the digital version of the Will Cain Show. Good dude, funny dude. Don't miss Andrew Schultz. All right, we got Jack Mack of Barstool coming up today. And you got to hear, finally, I have finished Love is Blind, my breakdown of young Gen Z men and women in America. But let's get to it with story number 1. Democrats are looking at awful numbers. This is according to CNN, MSNBC, NBC. And it is positioned against some of the best approval ratings in the last couple decades for President Donald Trump. President Donald Trump currently has an approval rating of 47%, according to NBC. The country's 44% says we are on the right path, right direction, right track, which is the highest numbers in 20 years to have 44%. Pretty fascinating stat. I'm not sure what the highest was before that, but for 44% of Americans to believe this is the right path, it's a huge moment where, despite all the questions and the freak out, the country seems to be rallying behind Donald Trump. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party, according to CNN, has hit a 29% favorability rating. According to NBC, Democrat Party views are only 27% viewed as positive, 55% negative to somewhat negative. This is compared to 2009, when that number was over 60%. When Hillary Clinton was running against Barack Obama, that party managed to get 60% approval rating across America. They have completely fallen in the eyes of the public. And that is in no small part due to, I think, voices like the following. Don Lemon appeared on Bill Maher's Club Random podcast, and he had this to say about Black Americans who support MAGA.
It's the same thing that when I see not all Black Republicans, but I see a Black MAGA person who is carrying Donald Trump's water and they know that he's lying. It is the shortest line to the front. Because if you're Black and you're whatever, you're just in line with a bunch of other Democrats that are doing the same thing that you're doing. But if you become a Black MAGA person, it's like, whoa, let's book this person, let's put him on television.
So you don't think you can be a sincere Black MAGA person?
No, I just said, I don't think that. I just said I think there can be sincere Republicans,
but you can't be a sincere Black Republican.
I don't think that you can. I don't think that you can be a rational MAGA, be Black and be a rational MAGA person. I think you can be Black and be a Republican.
I think they would find that very insulting.
Well, I mean, the truth is often insulting.
Have you ever noticed that it's always an ad hominem attack? It is always about people. And I think that's what's happened to the Democrat Party. They don't stand for anything. No policy, no vision of America other than to be anti-Trump. And we're going on more than a decade of being defined by being anti-Trump. If all that is your guiding light and all that you are is to be anti-Trump, you will find yourself constantly on 20% propositions if Donald Trump champions positions that are 80% approval rating. Like, should men be able to play in women's sports? 80% of Americans think that is insane. But so does Donald Trump. So the Democrat Party finds itself in the 20% proposition. Another one is Donald Trump over the weekend deported, I believe it was several hundred Venezuelan gang members and MS-13 El Salvadorian gang members. 261 were deported to El Salvador. an immigration judge tried to stop this at the 11th hour, but the plane, according to the administration, was already over international waters south of the Yucatan Peninsula and wasn't going to turn back. Landed in El Salvador and was accepted by President Bukele. Now, this has led many to go, well, some, I don't know about many, some to go, this is a constitutional crisis. Donald Trump is ignoring a federal judge, and he is deporting people that I guess in some way, for some on the left, it's defensible. In other words, another 80-20 proposition. Scott Jennings from CNN put this out. He said, welcome to the new 80-20 proposition. Democrats trying to protect illegal immigrants, gang members, criminals in this country, just to spite Trump. Now, John Favreau, who's one of the Obama bros, worked for the Obama administration, is now a Pod Save America podcaster, responded, hey, Scott, F you. Venezuelan gang members should be deported. Venezuelans who were here legally and deported without due process because some ICE agent saw a random tattoo shouldn't be deported. Why are you afraid of due process? What random tattoo is he talking about? Is he talking about gang tattoos? And by the way, I don't know who he's talking about here, who is here legally that is being deported. These are all illegal aliens in the country. The legal backing that Donald Trump was pointed to is the Wartime Alien Enemies Act of 1798. 137 were removed through that process. 101 Venezuelans removed via Title VIII. 21 El Salvadorian MS-13 gang members also removed. 2 MS-13 ringleaders in special cases removed as well for El Salvador. For what it's worth, their rap sheets included kidnapping, sexual abuse of a child, robbery, aggravated assault on a police officer. What is the Wartime Alien Enemies Act of 1798? Allows the president to detain, deport natives and citizens on an enemy nation, permits the president to target immigrants without a hearing based on the country of their birth or citizenship. Its most infamous use was the Japanese internment camps of World War II. This is a proposition, regardless of its legal wranglings, that is going to be popular with 80% of Americans. Hey, should you remove Tren de Aragua, MS-13 gang members, even simply illegal immigrants to another country? And Democrats standing on a wall to say the answer is no. They fought every single step of the way. I think it deserves a deep dive on who the individuals are championing this. The ACLU, who behind the ACLU? The judges they're filing those court cases in front of? They once again find themselves championing the 20% proposition in America. And then that leads us to who? Who leads the Democrat Party out of this 20-something odd percent approval rating? Well, here's a CNN poll that shows and asks, who is the leader of the Democratic Party? The lead, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with 10%. Kamala Harris, 9%. Bernie Sanders, 8%. From there, Hakeem Jeffries gets 6%. Who is the leader of the Democrat Party? If the answer is AOC, I think that leads to a real question that's posed by a friend of mine who's the executive producer of the Megyn Kelly Show, Steve Krakauer. He put out the following. He said there are 4 parties in America: MAGA, GOP, and Dems. So he's saying there are Democrats and Republicans inside of MAGA. Their leaders Trump, J.D. Vance, and Tulsi. They are populist, economically left, socially right. This is how Steve Krakauer characterizes it. Trad GOP, leader is Nikki Haley, and they are traditionally conservative. DEI Dems, leader is AOC, progressives. And then finally, corporate Dems and GOP. He lumps those together. Democrats and Republicans who are corporate. This is Obama, Cheney, establishment. Economically right, socially left. Now, I don't know that I agree with that. I can see how in historical context, some of the Make America Great Again movement could be classified as economically liberal. I mean, tariffs in the past were more of a economic position of the left. What other economic policies would have been described by a historical context as being left? Tinfoil, is there any others that, besides tariffs, that you'd say, well, that's not a traditional Republican point of view when it comes to the economy?
I can't think of any on the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
Occasionally, the president floats raising taxes on richer, the richest of the rich, but doesn't fully go with it.
I haven't seen him say that.
That might have been really old. That might be like 9 years old.
I can't think of another policy besides tariffs where economically you could make a foreign policy argument that the MAGA has pivoted to the left. But another economic policy? No. I mean, Lutnick is talking about doing away with the income tax. Lutnick is doing away with income tax for people under $150,000.
That'd be nice.
I don't think that is one. By the way, I don't think that's a good idea. That's a bad idea.
Really?
I mean, I can see how it's a populist idea that would get votes, but that's a bad idea for, the future of the country. If your only relationship to the government is what you can extract in terms of services and not what you have to pay for, then you are going to continue to vote for government. You will have warm, amenable feelings and no skin on the game towards the growth of government. You won't.
Okay.
Taxes are sort of the price you pay. This isn't an advocacy for taxes. It's like,
yeah, I see what you're saying.
if you've ever had to write a check to the government, you feel like, I think we shouldn't even have W-2 withholding. W-2 withholding makes it a painless procedure for you to pay taxes. And therefore you feel like you're not paying taxes, right? You don't even pay attention to your gross income except the number when you first get hired. And after that, when you get your paycheck, you just go, oh, this is what it is. This is what I get paid.
That's so true.
Because it's withheld from you. But if you've ever had 1099 work and you have to write a check to the government, that is a very different emotional experience. You have to budget for it. It comes out of your bank account where you've already counted it emotionally as your money. By the way, you have to pay it quarterly. And if you don't pay it quarterly, then you pay you pay a penalty, a fine on that. The government wants their money, not once a year. They want it as soon as possible. You can't be making interest on that until you pay them. And that is a very different emotional relationship with the government. And you care more about what they spend. And so you have a whole swath of the American public that doesn't pay any income tax. I just think you're going to get, that's a recipe for people to vote more spending. That's just what that is.
So do you want it like as small as possible?
A flat tax would be better across the board if you're going to have taxes than a progressive income tax.
I agree. Wow. And you're like, oh, that's a boon to the rich people. Well, they're still going to pay more. It's just going to be the same in percentage.
Okay.
Right.
And I don't know.
Well, it's like
it's
like AOC wearing the tax the rich dress at the gala.
But like, I look at my W-2 and I see the gross income number, and like just for a second, you think about like just how much actively your life would be different on a day-to-day basis if that gross income number was what you took home every week. Like that'd be
of
awesome.
course.
Be awesome.
Well, everybody thinks that.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that.
So let's do it.
All that reveals to me is the very nature of politics is you have to be very careful. You don't care that much about principles. You care about you. That's the truth.
Damn.
Like, you just want your paycheck to be bigger. And I think that applies to everything. Do people care about free speech? Only when it applies to them. Do people care about anything? And the answer is, the little devil inside of us is only when it applies to me. You don't care about all this stuff. And so if it doesn't apply to you, those taxes and those government spending, then you're not going to care. You're just not. Principles are a real hard thing to hold true to.
Selena Zito, in her book, her first book on why Trump got elected, she actually made the argument that his policies weren't necessarily to the individual, but to people who felt that their communities have struggled and that they voted not for themselves, but for the people around them they saw struggling.
Sure. Well,
but like smaller circle.
Well, first your family, first yourself, then your family, then your community. Speaking of that, on St. Patrick's Day, Conor McGregor made a trip this morning to the White House, talking about his community, talking about Ireland. Here's Conor McGregor.
I'm here to raise the issues that people of Ireland face, and it'll be music to the people of Ireland's ears, because never on the main stage has the issues the people of Ireland face been spoke? You know, our government has long since abandoned the voices of the people of Ireland. And it's high time that America is made aware of what is going on in Ireland. What is going on in Ireland is a travesty. Our government is the government of zero action with zero accountability. You know, our money is being spent on overseas issues that has nothing to do with the Irish people. The illegal immigration racket is running ravage on the country. There are rural towns in Ireland that have been overrun in one swoop, that have become a minority in one swoop. So issues need to be addressed, and the 40 million Irish Americans, as I said, need to hear this, because if not, there will be no place to come home and visit.
Everybody listening knows, as we've talked about, the illegal immigration crisis in Europe. It's not just here in America, and it's right there. People have been talking about it online lately, but it's happening in Ireland. We should probably do a list of the coolest accents. Ireland's got to be up there among the coolest accents. Actually, let's do that. And what I take away from the next generation by finishing finally the thing that two-a-days has been asking me to finish, Love is Blind, next on The Will Cain Show. Love is Blind shows me there is a problem with young men and young women. It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. Over on YouTube, Rat Boy says the entire Democrat Party needs to go. I think that's happening. I don't want to be reactionary, because this happens all the time. Like in 2009, when the Democratic Party had, people get so mad when I say Democratic instead of Democrat. In 2009, when the Democrat Party had a 60% approval rating, the conversation everywhere, the conversation on MSNBC, on Morning Joe, was Republicans are done. They're down to a few white men in the South. And of course, that's dramatically changed. Why I feel like the pendulum, we might be looking at something different than just the traditional pendulum swing of politics, is that nothing over the past decade fits within the previous 50 years. It just doesn't. Donald Trump changed the entire thing. And everything is defined by Donald Trump. The only unifying factor of Democrats is anti-Trumpism. Now, I think that leads to an interesting question about Republicans, because they have changed so drastically over the last 10 years. And that is, what happens after Donald Trump? If we're being honest, Donald Trump has been such a driving force. You have to acknowledge that there's a, look, me included, how much are we just following? You understand? Like, I have to be self-aware. I didn't consider a lot of these propositions as good for America. It's not like I was writing in 2015 about economic protection. And so and I think that doesn't apply to just me or you or anybody listening or watching, but it applies to politicians. Like, how much is everyone simply following the lead of Donald Trump? In other words, if J.D. Vance takes the mantle, how much does he actually continue the mantle? What is he there without Donald Trump? So without Donald Trump, I think both parties do have a moment of reflection and reset. And I think in many ways, the Democrat Party is done. It is done. I mean, it can't make a viable argument anymore that it is the party of free speech. It's not the party of middle class or lower class workers. It's the party of elitism. It's the party of censorship. Now, if Republicans under this administration all start to become the party of censorship or the party of this or that, then it allows Democrats to repivot because they'll just be anti-Trump, right? But both will have to redefine themselves after Trump because they have defined themselves for a decade by Donald Trump. Rhonda Albrecht says, LOL, who is the leader of the Democrat Party? Barack Obama. Now, I mean, I'm talking about forward-looking, Rhonda. I mean, Barack Obama may be a power player behind the scenes, and to whatever extent he can be the ideological center point, but I don't think... Who's the most prominent voices on the left right now? Seriously. AOC, Jasmine Crockett? They don't have anything to do with Barack Obama. David Brown, I want AOC to run for president in 2028 with Al Green as her running mate. I don't care who is. Right now, I totally dismiss the idea of AOC having any national political viability whatsoever. None. The best thing for Republicans would be for Democrats to continue to define themselves by anti-Trumpism and let the leader of that party be Jasmine Crockett or AOC. Fellas, we just heard from Conor McGregor. Irish, top 5 accent? Probably. Right?
I like Scottish.
Oh, it's there.
I think Scottish is cool.
It's there.
Yeah.
Those are both top 5, right?
Yes.
Jamaican gets
Jamaican's pretty.
Jamaican me crazy.
I have a number 1, and it's off the board.
Not good.
What? No, I have a number.
James is Jamaican. I just said not good.
Oh my God, James. South African, I love.
Oh yeah.
I think that's number 1 for me. I think it's a really
too subtle.
cool accent.
It's soothing.
What's up, bro? How you doing there, bud? That was Irish. Also.
No, you're trying to figure it out. You think when you hear a South African accent, you instantly know it's South African? I don't.
I do.
You sit there and you go,
I could pick it out over a New Zealand
English?
accent.
Yeah.
What you talking about, bro? That's how they sound.
Yeah.
that's an
Transatlantic
extreme
Express.
version of that brew thing.
Yeah, that's more like Johannesburg, but yeah.
They also lose that accent.
It's Afrikaans.
They lose it when they come to the States.
That was Leonardo DiCaprio in Blood Diamond,
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
And he was from Zimbabwe, Rhodesia, right?
Yeah, where they speak like Afrikaans, which is, Dutch.
Right.
But it's a pretty crazy language. I think it's cool.
I think Russian's pretty cool.
Russian is cool.
We're gonna get in trouble, but
Like a Russian. You talking about when they're speaking English?
Yeah. If he dies,
Or
he
what's-
dies.
Oh, wow.
So you are the machine.
No, Russian is hard. Like the Russian culture, it's a mystery, right? Like you don't know. You can't read any emotional tone in a Russian doing English. You know what I mean? Now,
That's
I don't
true.
know how they are in Russian, but I do know some Russian people. And when they're speaking, I really don't know if he's happy or if he's mad, if he's sad. He's impossible to read.
It's also just most bad guys in movies have Russian accents.
Mm-hmm. Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Every time.
Irish, Scottish, Jamaican. And then on the outside, maybe South African. Yeah. All right, 2-a-days. I finished Love is Blind. You ready for this?
Whew. Okay.
You've been telling me to watch Love is Blind. I watched the reunion show. I watched everything, okay? Okay, for those of you who don't know, Love is Blind is the dating show that I'm into. We're like 7 seasons in, 8 seasons in.
Something like that.
And, the whole, just as a quick, if you're not familiar, I love the social experiment of it. I'm not into the romance side of it. So for those of you like, oh, Will likes a dating show, I'm not trying to defend myself, but like, I don't watch The Bachelor. I'm not into the romance, the matchmaking side. I'm into the social experiment. And actually, 2 days, I fast forward. I do a lot of fast forwarding.
Yeah, you got it.
And to be honest, it's every time I'm like, I'm not watching this next season. The only thing I like is the first 2 or 3 episodes and then the last episode, which is honestly the reunion and the tension of the wedding. But I'm increasingly don't care about all the love side of Love is Blind. But they put them in these pods, men on one side, women on the other. They date. They don't see each other. They just talk. They, quote unquote, fall in love and propose over a couple-week period without ever seeing each other. There's an element of me that buys it. At first, I was blown away when I watched season 1 or 2. There's an element of me that buys it. Like you have these long heart-to-hearts. You're forced to do nothing else but confide. No phones, no distraction, no nothing. And I would imagine that's pretty conducive to a deep emotional connection in a short period of time. But I'm also at this point very jaded and cynical. Like it feels like everybody doing this show knows they're doing a show and they're calculating how to make this a personally beneficial experience for them on the show.
Mostly the men.
And that's going to ruin it, by the way. I'm going to get to the men in a minute.
Sorry.
That's going to ruin it. And then what happens is after they propose, then they get revealed to each other. And it's fun in theory and has been through the seasons to watch the blindness get peeled back. So first, they get to see each other physically. Oh, that's pretty fun. Like, are they going to like how they look or not? Second, it's like about physical intimacy. They send them away, see if on a honeymoon vacation. Do they have chemistry, honestly, right? I mean, be honest. That's a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, have you ever dated a girl and you're like, she's really good looking and I really like her, but there was no chemistry in that realm?
Yeah.
Like none. Like even a kiss, it just didn't.
Yeah.
It's a really weird experience because you're like, this is an attractive person with a good personality. Like nothing on the surface is like, it just doesn't click.
Right.
It's just not working. It's a weird thing to experience. And then they introduce their phones, and then they introduce their family and their friends and their real world. They go back to their hometown. And so you just keep injecting the real life into it until you see what can survive. Okay, and then you get to the altar, and you see who will propose and who will not, and who will get married. Not propose, but who will actually go through with the vows. And then you have the reunion show, which is my favorite. And I have some thoughts here, Dan. First of all, Nick Lachey and Vanessa did way better. It's highly edited.
Yeah.
I have been so critical of them. I think they're awful at it. They're not curious people. They want to virtue signal and project, but they didn't this time. And they asked questions, but it was way more edited, I feel like, in the past.
It was.
I feel like they were coached.
I
feel like they were coached.
I liked how they were this year.
Okay, here's my thought. Going through the season, there was at least one character in one couple that went viral. And anybody that watches Fox or probably saw this, where a girl said to a guy in the pods, how do you feel about Black Lives Matter? And I'm super into equality. That was her line. I'm super into equality. And she has a sister who's gay. And we talked about that. Like, should you be vetting? We did that with Jason Redman last week. Should you be canceling a relationship because you're on different pages for that or not? And I pretty much, throughout the season, was on the guy's side. I thought the girls were way too political, way too, I don't know. And then I get to the reunion show, and I was on every girl's side in all these interactions. Okay? Every guy I thought was terrible. And I'm generally on the guys' sides. And these girls who I'd went into it with, not liking, in the whole I don't like you for this, or I don't like you for that, or you made this mistake, or you lied about this, I was almost on the girl's side every time. And here's what I noticed, Dan. At the end of that, my wife goes, I'm really worried for our boys. And I was like, yeah, these girls, and hear me out now, are so political, now this was filmed in the fall, they said, so before the election.
Mm-hmm.
And politics was a big part of everybody's mindset, and still is, but it was. These girls are so political, so social justice-y, right? They canceled relationships because they didn't think guys were enough with them on social issues, when the guys didn't even take positions, right? They didn't say anything other than, well, they didn't say anything. They just were like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about BLM. I don't know how I feel about LGBT.
It's tough to take a stance on camera for them. I mean,
okay.
So they're not well
so
read.
that's where I'm going with this. They're not well what?
They're not super read in either, so you can't really push back against it unless you really know the issue.
But they might be just of the opposite way.
No, this is where I'm on the girls' side. The girls were like, how do you not have an opinion? How do you not have an opinion on BLM? How do you not have opinion on LGBTQIA? And the guys tried to act like, I don't know, just sort of like, but I'm open to everything. So as much as I worry for my sons dating girls like this, I hope my sons are not these guys. These guys are the weakest, most spineless betas that I can imagine. Their only goal is to come out being non-controversial and likable and be seen as a cool dude. That's their only goal. And in order to do that, they will be an absolute nothing. Now, they're faking it. They're lying, and that's very clear. That's very clear they're lying, and the girls sense it. And that's why the girls cut it off. The girls know that these guys are hiding. But even in the reunion show, they take it, Dan. They take a whooping. The one dude starts out with, I get my privilege, I understand my privilege, and I'm not proud of that. I'm like, what the hell, man, are you talking about?
The guy Devin?
But he doesn't go full BLM. He doesn't go full, he just wants to stay safe. That's all he wants to do. He wants to be in safe, cool guy land, and he can't figure it out. And my wife is like, these girls want someone to be strong. They actually are, even if the guy disagrees with them, They want somebody to stand up and be strong. It's so clear that like the dynamics it has shifted in such a degree that it's unappealing for even the girls. One more thought on this. Oh, you know what the guys are trying to be safe from 2 days? Did you tell me if you felt differently? They know that there's a social price to pay if they stand up to these girls. And they are afraid of that price. I don't know what the price they're going to pay is. Like, is it going to be on their Instagram, on their TikTok, on their wherever it is? Wherever that generation is paying a price, like social media. I don't think it's at the bar, by the way. I don't think they're going to the bar and everybody's like going, I can't believe you're a Republican or I can't believe you'd vote Trump, right? That's not happening, but they're afraid of what's going to happen to them, I think, in the social media world. And that's their whole MO. I want to get through this life safe on social media.
Yeah, I think that's
my thought.
Yeah, I think that's right, and they're afraid to take that stance because saying like your views on abortion and LGBTQ issues is hard to take a stance on. But I think you got to think about the show and who the audience is too. I mean, the audience definitely skews more female. So if these guys are kind of in a lose-lose either way, unless they are absolutely Prince Charming and find a great love or something like that, it's a tough spot to be in for them, I think, automatically.
But they're such doormats on everything.
But because they kind of have to be in their head. They're like, if I say anything
in their head.
Yeah, if I say anything too much either way, I'll piss off this crowd and this crowd. So being middle of the road, I would have a hard time not doing it too, but I see what you mean. It is a little spineless. Like, have a stance
but
at least.
It's not just my indictment. So take the political stuff out.
Yeah.
Even on the romance. Okay, so you got the long-haired guy, Joey, which, when you know it's pretty clear, he's not into her.
No.
Whether or not it's physically or sexually, he's not into her.
Yeah.
Right? Own it, dude. Just say it. That's not the worst thing in the world. I'm sorry. We didn't click. I wasn't into it.
Followers. That's it.
And he didn't do it. He wouldn't do it. And he just takes his sort of lumps. There's nothing wrong with that. Just have a position, believe in your position, and have some conviction, man. And be honest. And they're constant doormats. But the other thing is about it is they're liars. Because they actually do have things that they think. And it's so clear, even to the girls. You do have things you think. And you're hiding it about everything. And I don't know. It's a weird, ugly combination to be a liar and a doormat. Like, you're willing to just take your punishment. To them, I guess, so you can avoid punishment online, which you don't. They're going to get it online anyway, right? Mm-hmm. And they're going to get it from those girls. The reunion show has turned into self-flagellation for guys and, like, yes, queen for the girls. That's what it's turned into. And I think in the end, you can even see the girls don't like it. They want a strong man. I'm telling you. I believe
you're right.
it.
And at the end, the guys were weak. Forget the political stances, like you said. They were kind of just wishy-washy and kind of just weird. And none of them kind of stood out as, who they said they were in the beginning and ended up being that same person. I don't know how much is editing. I don't know how much is anything else. But, yeah, it was just not a great. But the two that
There's
made
one more
it
factor.
are great.
There's one more factor. It's in Minnesota. And I did wonder, is this a minute? No, I'm serious.
No,
like,
it's true.
Minnesota nice?
It's true.
I'm like, is this a Minnesota nice thing? Like, all these guys want to be as nice.
Yeah.
And they're willing to be fake to be nice. But I don't know.
I think it is. Because
they're all Tim Walls.
Well, because like all the other seasons, guys are talking about how much money they have and the things they have and status and all that, and these guys are like, "Hey, I make a pretty good ragu," that's it's a way different thing, and where you are in the country.
Yeah.
So it makes a big, big difference, I think.
I wonder if it was Minnesota nice. I should have asked the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah,
it's just how you guys do things up there in Minnesota.
Yeah,
it was tough for me.
Glad you finished.
All right. I did. I mean, every time I go, I think I'm done with it. I don't know.
Sucks you right back in.
You know what? They need to cut it down to like 6 episodes.
Oh, I
instead
agree.
of 10 to 12, like 6 or 7 episodes.
Yes.
Okay, Jack Mack of Barstool on the autopen. Will we have elections in 4 years? Or I guess will be a full-on dictatorship? And it's time to meet the moment. Plus March Madness when we come back on the Will Cain Show. Can we please have Will do his shirt buttons in accordance with the stress of the day? 5, super relaxed and no worries, but all the way up, it's a DEFCON 1, says the 13th Apostle on YouTube. Am I low today? I'm actually a little bit stressed out today, so I don't, if it's giving Burt Reynolds, it's not matching my stress level. It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, and the Fox News Facebook page. Jack McGuire is the host of Unpack with Jack Mack, also the Spinning Back Fist. Also, he is a gambling blogger at Barstool, and he's with us now. The guys just said, I bet he's Irish. I'm like, yeah, look at him. And his name is McGuire. Like, yeah, I mean,
I can't get
a big day.
You could put me in the middle of Florida for year round, which would be great, but I want to get tan. I mean, I'm not afraid of the sun. Like, I can go in the sun and do pretty well for an Irishman, but like, I'm not going to get tan. I will not get tan. So, I mean, happy St. Patrick's Day to me and the other fellow Irishmen out there.
What will happen? You just get red? Sunburned?
I'll get a little bit of color. I won't become red like a tomato, though. I will not become red like a tomato, but I will definitely not become tan. I've tried to become tan multiple times, but it's just not in the cards. God made me this way, and that's how I'm going to accept it, and you have to live with it.
Is this a big day for you? St. Patty's Day? Are you getting ready to rip the top off of it here?
I wouldn't say so. I enjoy St. Patrick's Day. I wouldn't say I grew up in a family that was big time Irish, or we are, but it wasn't a part of the identity. We didn't have an Ireland flag out front. I identify myself, when people ask me, I say I'm American. But obviously you look at me, you see the pale skin, and then you see the last name, MCG. It's a little bit confusing sometimes because I do identify as Jack Mack on social, and that's MAC, so that would come across as Scottish. I've never done one of those DNA tests. I don't really believe in them. I'm a bit skeptical of them, but I would assume there may be some Scottish blood in me. I have German, Irish, Portuguese, I guess. That's what my parents tell me.
What do you mean you don't believe in them? What, you don't believe in the DNA test, or you don't want to give that information over to the public domain?
That's a better way to describe it. I believe in them. They definitely probably, the science is decent, I guess. If someone could do it and I could keep my DNA and they would give it back to me instead of storing it somewhere for like Jeff Bezos to use in 20 years, or somebody to plant my DNA on a crime scene, I would feel better about it. But no, all joking aside.
That's how the Idaho dude got caught, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not committing any crimes. Well, I guess there is that theory, right? Everybody commits 3 federal crimes every day or something. But I don't have anything to hide, but you never know. I mean, there could be some people out there that despise me and want to plant me for something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, so then your DNA is on file somewhere. Yeah, and then they can search that database. The thing is, we're all at some point. But we're like at terminal velocity. Like, I kind of want to do it, and my brothers have done it, so that probably ruins me anyway. Because that's how the Koberger dude got caught. It's not like he did the ancestry DNA. Somebody in his lineage did, right, in his vast family network. And then so when they analyze the DNA at the crime scene, and they go back and they check the databases, they're like, well, this is the familial mitochondrial linkage, and this guy is a connection. So my point is, we're all burned at some point. There is no privacy. You can't protect yourself. You're not off the grid. And I think not only that, we're all at terminal velocity. At some point, there's nothing more to protect.
I would say DNA is probably it. That's the last thing we have. Now, obviously, if somebody wanted my DNA, they could come and get it. You could send somebody that just bumps into me on the subway and then gets a follicle of my hair, and before you know it, they have my DNA. But if they want to do that and they want it, they should come and get it. They need to come and get it. But I would assume somebody in my bloodline has done it. I think my uncle has. I don't think my parents or sister or mother or father have done it. Just out of, not because they think like me in this way. I think they just haven't done it. But I think my uncle on my mother's side is quite interested in it. and he's always been on Ancestry.com, and he's found some pretty cool things. I get the connection you have kind of with your bloodline, and you want to learn more and who came to America first, and that's pretty cool.
Yes.
But the DNA aspect's a little bit, I draw the line. I mean, is it the end of the world if my sister does it? I'm not gonna sever my relationship with my sister because of it, but I don't think I will ever sign up to do it. It's like, here, you're paying me for, you said it, we're at velocity, we're peak max velocity in this privacy age. It's gone. But the only thing left probably is your DNA. But we're paying people to take it just so they can tell us, like, oh, yeah, you're like 1% African. And then someone, like a social justice warrior, could pat themselves on the back and be like, I knew it. I knew it. I really, really knew it.
All right. You do Unpack with Jack Mack, which is a pretty fun thing you've been doing, about 2 minutes through the news. One of the things that is up right now is Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman from Texas, who's kind of emerging into, like, I'd say one of the most prominent voices on the left.
She's
what?
A superstar now. On the left, like, I will say, I mean, she changed her voice and became a superstar. It was like, sometimes you need to change your character a little bit, and she did. I'll give her credit for that.
I saw you say that. How she changed her voice? What are you talking about? Is she?
Have you not?
What was her voice before? No, tell me what it was before and what she's doing now.
Oh, Will, you should, and anybody listening, watching, just go, like, Jasmine gave an interview about 2 years ago where she was very cordial. I mean, she grew up in a very, like, a house with two great parents, and she went to a great school. I think she went to a great private school for high school, which is great. I'm not here to shame that, but she definitely talks a little bit more recently with some street lingo, a little bit more, they not like us, kind of Kendrick Lamar. But if you go back and listen to the interview she did 2 years ago, you'd be like, uh-oh, she's somebody that I might disagree with politically, but I could sit down with a conversation, and I don't think she's going to. Now she's just so much different. I would just go and watch how she spoke 2 years ago.
All right. In fact, Dan, why don't you pull that up while we play Jasmine Crockett talking about whether or not the far left side of the Democratic Party should be the one to take over. Should AOC try to take over for Chuck Schumer? Watch.
You're close with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York. Some of your fellow House Democrats say, and not just progressives, by the way, we've heard that moderates have said this too, that they're ready to support her to challenge Chuck Schumer in a Democratic primary. Would you get behind that?
That's 4 years from now. If you were asking me at least in 2 years, then I would have an absolute answer. But I can tell you that there are a lot of people that are watching his leadership in this moment. This is the moment. We don't even know what elections will look like in 4 years, if we will have elections.
If we'll have elections in 4 years, man, this could be it. You know what? Are we about to lose our democracy?
No, that's the new talking point. It's been around. One of the first questions I got asked after Trump won in November was, "Do you think he'll give up the presidency in 2028?" I was like, "What? What do you mean give up?" Like, that was one of my coworkers asked me that. And I mean, Jasmine, I have to give credit to. She's really hitting on she's hitting on top tier talking points, and she's delivering in a way, I guess, that connects with people. But she really came out of nowhere. I don't think I heard from Jasmine Crockett prior to a month ago, 2 months ago. She's a rising star.
Yeah. I don't think so. I think she's a social media CNN star, and if this is the face, they're in deep trouble. If this is the voice, they're in deep trouble.
You're right about that. If one of my flaws, if I had to, someone asked me, I would say I probably put way too much into social media in terms of how I am. I would say, but I even kind of learned that from Trump in 2016, 2020, and 2024. It felt as if everyone hated him on social media, and obviously that changed a little bit in the last election. But you kind of realize, oh, wait a second, this is a bubble. But Jasmine seems like she's everywhere on social media, at least. And if you want to be a social media politician, she's doing that well. But that may not get you places.
Here it is, Jack. You said let's find her accent from before. We have it from 1 year ago.
The Republican Party is in a crisis. They are imploding. They are not one. They are a party that has been hijacked by MAGA. And MAGA doesn't believe in governance. They believe in tearing things down, which is really wild because we have insurrectionists right now that are running to become members of Congress. These are people that were trying to tear our institution apart from the outside. Now they're trying to join.
All right, so that is different than the they not like us version of her, the Kendrick
And I would
Lamar.
say, if you want one video, look at the video that she did. I think she walked out of when Trump was giving his address last week or 2 weeks ago. And she was like, we not about that. It's like, it kind of turns like, her voice and dialect changed a little bit, which I guess she thinks it works on social media. Maybe it is. She's certainly on CNN.
Well, listen
a
to what
lot
she was
more
actually saying. That was a year ago, Dan, and she was saying the Republican Party is imploding right now. And here we
that's
are,
like,
a year later.
What's his name? He's from Louisiana. James Carville. He said there's only 2 to 3 weeks left about a week ago before there's a huge Republican Party blow up. Obviously, that same man is the guy who told us that Kamala was going to win in a landslide. So James Carville always makes me laugh. I think that's how you pronounce his name, at least.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Donald Trump just posted this last night on Truth Social. He talked about the autopen, which everyone is talking about, that Joe Biden's signature appears to have been done by autopen. And he posted the pardons that Sleepy Joe gave to the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs and many others are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect because of the fact that they were done by an autopen. In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them, but more importantly, he did not know anything about them. So he goes on to say that basically Joe was out. He didn't do this, so therefore they have no effect. I don't really know what the constitutional argument is.
I have no idea.
I don't know how this shakes out.
He obviously can just go out there and say that.
Oh, there we go.
Am I back?
Jack.
Sorry about that. No, I don't know if Trump could do that. I am not a legal analyst. He can just truth things instead of tweet things, but truth them. I don't know the legal precedent there, but I did see that last night, and I got a chuckle. Saying these just don't exist anymore is.
Well, we'll see if the DOJ goes after the people that he pardoned. If the DOJ goes after them, and then those pardons are tested, and then we have to find out, does an autopen count? Basically, is the president of not sound mind, body, and executive authority if he's using an autopen to sign his orders?
Has the DOJ ever gone after somebody who's been pardoned for what they were pardoned for?
Question. That's a good question.
I don't know that. I don't. That would be more of someone who knows a lot more than me. But that would be. There's been a lot of things that have happened during Trump's presidencies that have not happened before, and we live in the wildest of times. So that. But the autopen. It's funny to me like how he picks this because we knew about the autopen for a little bit. That's no surprise, but he just kind of randomly decided, I think on Friday night or maybe Saturday night, he was just like, the last president was an autopen. And then he did the meme yesterday where it was his president portrait for 2017 to 2021, then the autopen, and then his second portrait. His brain works in fascinating ways, but sometimes, and what I've learned throughout the years is he usually has a method to the madness. It seems like he kind of, whenever he says something, you kind of laugh at it, but then you're like, wait a second. Even like the Greenland thing, it's funny, but there's a method there. He wants that for national security, and it seems as if that's a true thing that is beyond just like, oh, we want to put a Trump Tower in Greenland.
Yeah.
Even the
I
Canada
totally
thing.
agree.
Even the Canada thing, he kind of I didn't really realize until he brought it up how we drew the lines from dividing Canada and America was kind of disadvantageous towards America, specifically the Toronto area. And that was something that I learned through the meme that was President Trudeau or Governor Trudeau and 51st state Canada.
Yeah, he definitely has a method to his madness. He has an end goal, I think, on a lot of this stuff. All right. Now, March Madness kicks off a little bit later this week. I'm going to ask you three things, okay? First of all, of the number one seeds, who do you like the best to win the national championship? That is Auburn, Florida, Houston, and Duke. Who do you like the best of those four?
I think if Cooper Flagg, who is an unbelievable basketball player, future number one pick for the upcoming draft, if he comes back from the ankle injury that he sustained this past weekend, or this past week, it was on Thursday, I like Duke. But without him, Florida's a pretty good team. So, but I would say Duke is where my gut is. It feels like this team's inevitable. They are phenomenal, especially when Cooper's, if their best player is healthy. But even without him, they're pretty damn good.
Florida's really good. Auburn's really good. Do you think the SEC got too many teams in? 14? By the way, the last couple in was North Carolina, not SEC. Texas, and the first two out, they say, West Virginia, Indiana. So if you're going to argue that the SEC got too many, you're arguing for West Virginia or Indiana, basically.
The SEC was the best conference by far this year. I would say Texas is a team that deserved to be in. UNC is the one that I think a lot of people were looking at and shaking their head. I would have even put potentially West Virginia or Indiana over an Xavier, who was one of the last teams in that was playing Texas in the first four. But those SEC teams, it's kind of tough to, a lot of their losses are against, I
think Jack froze again.
Oh, that's a fun face to freeze right there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Jack.
Sorry. Hold on, let me try to get it back real quick.
If you can get him back, you can. But if not, we're coming to the end. I want to ask him about a Cinderella as well. Or not a Cinderella. We always have like a 4 or 5 seed making the Final Four. Who's the best option out of that? Texas Tech, Tennessee. Who is the best team not as a number 1 or number 2 seed that you could see making their run into the Final Four? We might have lost Jack Mack. Jack
Hold
McGuire.
on, we got him.
From Barstool.
Sorry, I'm going to yell at our Wi-Fi. This is the Barstool's Wi-Fi, not mine. I do pay for my own Wi-Fi at home. That is very, very good. But I was just going to say...
You're in the office.
Yeah, I'm in the office, but Duke's just a phenomenal Auburn, I was saying the stat. Auburn, of the 32 teams they played this year, 24 of them are in the tournament. And I would assume almost 20 of them, or not 20, because that doesn't make any sense. Well, no, because you play teams twice. I would assume 20 of those games, or maybe 18 to 20, are SEC games that they played. Because obviously they played Alabama twice and others. And so the SEC deserved it, I think. Now, it's kind of a beefed up stat, though, where they say most teams ever. Yeah, when you have a conference, a super conference now, yeah, you got the most teams ever.
It's been expanded.
Yeah.
Right. Way more options. Okay, finally, who do you like to make look, we'll call it a Final Four run. I can't say national title, but every year we'll get a 4 or 5 seed, something like that, that'll disrupt the 1s and 2s in the Final Four. But lately, I feel like it's only been 1. Like 1s and 2s have been dominating 3 of the 4 spots, I feel like. So when you look outside of 1s and 2s, you got, I don't know, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Tennessee, which, by the way, I like Tennessee probably is my answer. But who do you like outside the top 2 seedings that are going to make their run to the Final Four?
I like Tennessee as well. They're a team that's just Rick Barnes just finds ways to lose in March. I mean, He had Kevin Durant on his team. He found a way to lose. He's had some pretty damn good teams over the past few years that have found ways to lose. But they're a team that's always around, and experience, I think, matters. Texas Tech's a team that I think is very good. Wisconsin's also a team that's very good.
Yes.
I like Wisconsin. And so those are some teams that I think you want to stay away from chalk. I mean, 2 years ago, if you look at the Final Four, there were some crazy teams in there. Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, Miami, even UConn in 2023 was a 4 seed. Or maybe it was a 5. No, it was a 4. So maybe we could get one of those, but this if Cooper Flagg's injured and Auburn continues their fall off, this could be a wide open bracket. But if they're not, Auburn feels like a team that finds a way to. Auburn finds a way to lose, though. Auburn's a team that finds a way to. I really like Michigan State, Tom Izzo. My biggest question will be, how does St. John's do? I know we're in New York, so you kind of feel it a little bit more, but if we could get a St. John's run, that would be kind of special. Patino talks a lot, which makes him kind of fun, but he took a shot at UConn last night while at the celebration party for getting the 2 seed. He said, because they're playing in Rhode Island, he said, when we drive past stores, wave at UConn. I mean, you roll your eyes a little bit at these schools that just, this is the first time they've really been in the tournament in a bit, and it's a high seed, and you're taking shots at a team that's won back-to-back national titles. You kind of roll your eyes. It's like, okay, Rick Pitino. But I like the Big East, so I'll stand by the Big East. But I think St. John's, I have a bad feeling about. I have a bad feeling about them.
I think your national champion's coming out. And I'm not being a homer because I've never been one of these guys, and we're too new as Longhorns into it. But I think your national championship is coming out of the SEC.
Yeah.
All right, Jack McGuire, check him out almost daily on Unpack with Jack Mack, or check out the Spinning Back Fist over at Barstool. Always good to see you, man. Doing good stuff. Thanks for being on with us.
Thank you so much. Sorry about the internet. I'll talk with you soon.
All right. Get it together, Barstool. See you, Jack McGuire. All right, that's going to do it for us today here on The Will Cain Show. I'll see you at 4 o'clock this afternoon where we have Andrew Schultz coming up. You don't want to miss that. 4 o'clock Eastern Time, 3 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Pacific on the Fox News Channel. I'll see you again next time.